human trafficking and smuggling in East Africa. East Africa basically because I come from that region. And in East Africa, I will refer to three traditional countries, that's Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. My structure overview will be like this. Introduction, about trafficking, current situation in East Africa. I'll talk about the media influence. I'll talk about African diaspora's influence and the allies. And I'll give the possible remedies that we can use to stop trafficking and a conclusion. So with the introduction, I won't talk about human trafficking or smuggling because you are very familiar with it. It will be just wasting of time. Only one thing I want to stress is that I will not depreciate human trafficking and smuggling because they have some elements in reality. So if we are to talk about the whole issue, I want to summarize it all. And then, in East Africa, human trafficking and smuggling has occurred in two ways. One, the external and the internal. The internal including people being taken from villages to come to the cities to work as prostitutes or houseboys or house girls. And the external, whereby they are cross borders outside East Africa to other parts of the world. And then means of recruitment include forced recruitment. We had that in Uganda some time back by the Rhodes Rebellion Army of Joseph Kony, who abducted a whole girls' school and took all the girls to his army in Sudan and in Congo and then in northern Uganda to work as his soldiers, some as wives, and little children were also abducted. And then we have another kind of trafficking or smuggling which is done by deception and lies to get the victims. So when I talk about the post-trafficking or smuggling, this is now not a much problem because the government is working very hard with stakeholders. And also, the internal trafficking is not also a problem because the government of Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania have universal primary education. So kids are now studying. It's very hard for kids to work or work as house girls or whatever. Actually, Uganda has gone too far by introducing universal secondary education whereby now students, people can study from up to 13th class free of charge. So that's not a problem. The big problem is external trafficking and external smuggling, which is done by manipulation and coercion. In this case, people lie to come to Europe for different purpose, or to come to Dubai for another purpose, but when they reach there, they are abused, they end up as sexual workers, they are used by fake doctors or whatever to get their organs out, and all sorts of human rights violation which you are familiar with. So basically my analysis is, amid all things, why are people still being lied to move out of their countries? And one thing I want to stress is the media. It's very upset that I didn't have to make my PowerPoint. I would have shown you some of the media influence that are corrected. The media, I want to say, the way the media covers Europe in Africa has major consequences that is affecting our people. For instance, I quote on July 28, New Vision, a Uganda's paper, that had a headline saying big jobs in Dubai, elect jobs for security guards, and very many other jobs. And one article, 10 ways to avoid deportation when you're in Europe. Mind you, these are people back home reading those things. What happens then? It increases their state of despair. And then they try out any opportunity that comes out They want to use it, and at the end they end up in these traffickers who are using them as victims. And then too, let me talk about we Africans in diaspora and the allies. We really have a very, very big influence to our brothers and sisters back home. And we are really engaged in smuggling and trafficking. It's absurd to say this. One, we are engaged directly. You've had many cases, some of us going back home, getting fake girlfriends, bring them here to Europe, and then use them for sex trade or whatever. And then there are many cases where we engage directly with the allies back home. I read a GTZ report that even community leaders and teachers were said to be involved in